I'm going to talk on frozen shoulder, which is also called adhesive capsulitis. So to begin with, here's a quote from Dr. Kenneth Cooper who says, "We do not stop exercising because we grow old. We grow old because we stop exercising." So what is a frozen shoulder? Frozen shoulder is an inflammatory condition characterized by progressive pain, stiffness, and loss of both active and passive shoulder motion. Usually it affects elderly women starting from 50 to 65 years of age, if we can call them elderly, that is. The stages are three. The first stage is a painful stage, then there is a freezing stage, and then there is a thawing phase. It usually lasts for months to years. So the pathology is every joint is covered by a capsule that is made up with a lining known as the synovium. When the synovium gets inflamed, it is called synovitis, and that is the initial cause of pain. After the first phase, then comes fibrosis. And in this process of tissue repair, reduced range of motion of the shoulder joint takes place because of fibrosis. What are the risk factors? Sedentary lifestyle. We generally get ready, and many a times we think that we are going to do something nice for our body, but then again we just sit down and think of something else to do, which is very, very sedentary and comforting. Then there is diabetes also can cause a frozen shoulder, thyroid disorders, prolonged immobilization, trauma of the shoulder, and surgeries which have to, which make us sit down or lie down for too long a time. So sedentary behavior increases mortality risk. That is another thing. So sitting for long hours without breaks increases the risk of death. So we must move around. It is said every 20 minutes, just move from one room to another for 5 minutes, and that is also very good. So what are the three stages? There is freezing. In the freezing stage, the pain intensifies gradually. The shoulder loses its range of motion, and this lasts from 6 weeks to 9 months. Then comes stage frozen. Here the painful symptoms may actually improve. There is less pain, but the stiffness remains. And this lasts from 4 to 6 months. And the daily activities may be very difficult. Now comes the stage 3, which is called the stage of thawing. Shoulder motion slowly improves. Complete return to normal or close to normal strength and motion typically takes place anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. So now the shoulder motion is returning back to normal in thawing. How does the patient present? There is a gradual onset of progressive pain in the shoulder. The pain worsens during night, especially when lying towards the affected shoulder. There is a reduced range of motion in all planes of the shoulder joint. There is difficulty in activities like fastening the bra, combing hair, picking up things from the upper shelves of the kitchen or the cupboards. Then there is complaint of neck pain also because the shoulder is not taking enough weight. Now, how do we make the diagnosis? It is primarily clinical. A detailed patient history and physical examination can clinch the diagnosis. Imaging is only done to rule out other causes of shoulder dystocia. So how do we do a physical examination? Well, measure the reduction in both passive and active range of motion. External rotation is markedly restricted. Abduction is restricted. Flexion and internal rotation are slightly limited. Let's have a look at this diagram to show us how the what are the shoulder movements. So in standing, when we raise the arms fully, this is called flexion of the shoulder joint. When we take our arms backwards, then it is called extension. And when we take our arm laterally away from the body, abduction, and towards the body is adduction. Keeping the elbow joint flexed and bringing the forearm close to the body is internal rotation, and the opposite is external rotation. So these are the movements of the shoulder joint. It is mainly the external rotation which gets affected initially. So we must know what external rotation is. Lab investigations, nothing is required, but of course, if we are suspecting diabetes and thyroid, then they need to be looked for and treated appropriately. A shoulder X-ray is often performed to rule out bony abnormalities, and an MRI shows a thickened coracohumeral ligament, rotator internal synovitis, or some decrease in the size of the axillary pouch. So, coming to the treatment, what are the non-surgical treatment methods? Most people with frozen shoulder improve with relatively simple treatments to control pain and restore motion. Physiotherapy is the gold standard. It focuses on pain relief and restoring movements. So, in stage 1, which is called the freezing stage, which is the stage of pain, lot of pain. So that is the time when, heat and ice therapy works, when NSAIDs work like ibuprofen, naproxen, and that is the time when only gentle and consistent exercises are shown to the patient. The patient is treated with gentle exercises. So there are the pendulum swings, the finger walk, and the external rotation, which we will come to very soon. Then there are stretching exercises for stage 2. Which could also include things like swimming and also stretching. Then muscle strengthening exercises come in stage 3 to restore function of the shoulder joint. So these are like weight training and various other exercises. So let us now come to the exercises. We've already discussed non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen. They not only reduce pain, but they also reduce inflammation. So we should not be miserly in taking them. We should not ignore these medicines. They are very good for us in case there is frozen shoulder. Then steroid injections also do help. When there is severe pain and movement restriction, then cortisone is a powerful anti-inflammatory medicine that is injected directly into the shoulder joint. It works wonders. So how is physiotherapy done? So in stage 1, where we said that the pain is intense, so this pendulum exercise is very good. First of all, the patient can take a warm shower or use heating pads and take an NSAID so that the movement becomes less painful, and even ultrasonic modalities for heating the joint are very good. Then the patient does this pendulum exercises. This is with the gravity, so the pain is less. The patient bows down a little, bends down a little, and moves the arm in a pendulum-like fashion, forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards. Then there is this pulley exercise. This is also very comforting in shoulder, in a frozen shoulder. These are all stage 1 exercises. Swimming is very good. And these are weight training exercises for stage 3, where you can do exercise, take weights. And we have Dr. Rashmi Bawa with us, who's going to explain how scaption is done, how abduction, adduction, all these movements can be done, picking up weights and making our muscles even more strong. Here is a case which was shared by a colleague of mine who is an interventional radiologist. Here's a 39-year-old alcohol-induced chronic pancreatitis, which led to diabetes and adhesive capsulitis. So the patient landed up with an inflamed joint capsule, and a high volume rotator interval injection was given to break the adhesions. So the doctor, what he did was he did an ultrasound under ultrasound guidance of the shoulder joint. He injected normal saline into the shoulder joint, and which helped in breaking the adhesions inside and the synechia inside. And the patient was relieved of pain. The movement was better. So this is called hydrodilatation, and this is also one of the therapies required. So in a diabetic patient with restricted movements of shoulder, always think of adhesive capsulitis, that is frozen shoulder. Prevalence of adhesive capsulitis in diabetics is 20% versus 2 to 5% in general population. A screening ultrasound of shoulder by experienced radiologist can also make a diagnosis of adhesive capsulitis. Cases with most pronounced restriction of external rotation are the ones which will benefit most from interventional management, like ultrasound-guided hydrodilatation. So this was about that. Then surgical treatment, well, not really advised unless the conservative methods do not work. So surgery for frozen shoulder is typically offered during stage 2 or frozen stage. The goal of surgery is to stretch and release the stiffened joint capsule. The most common methods include manipulation under anesthesia and shoulder arthroscopy. Manipulation under anesthesia is done. During this procedure, controlled force is applied, causing the capsule and scar tissue to stretch or tear a bit. This releases the tightening and increases the motion. During recovery, physical therapy is necessary to maintain the motion that was achieved during surgery. Recovery time ranges from 6 weeks to 3 months. Although it is a slow process, commitment to therapy is the most important factor in returning back to all the activities. Long-term outcomes after surgery are generally good. So what are the key preventive strategies? Immediate movement. Start physical therapy and gentle shoulder exercises as soon as possible after injury or surgery to prevent stiffness from setting in. Regular exercise. Engage in a customized program of shoulder, rotatory movements, exercise, including stretching and strengthening as advised by a therapist. Then posture awareness. Maintain good posture, keeping shoulders back and avoiding slouching to reduce strain. Avoid immobility. Don't keep your arm completely still. Even gentle movements are vital. So, these days, so many of our children, the new generation, are on the laptop all the time. So, this can be suggested to them that they must move their shoulders. Rotatory motions, anti-clockwise and clockwise, all these help. Then, positioning. If sleeping on your side, support the affected arm on a pillow across your chest. So, here's a quote which says, "Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live." Vitamin C and D also help. In fact, there are studies to prove that vitamin C is an anti-inflammatory and vitamin D deficiency is linked to restricted movements or underlying conditions like managing diabetes and thyroid, and risk factors like identifying specific risk factors like, studying for too long a period on the desk or using the laptop for too long. All these factors have to be identified, and these type of people have to be told to move their shoulders and be mobile as far as possible. So here's another quote which says, exercise not only changes your body, it changes your mind, your attitude, and your mood. So the prognosis is favorable. About 10 to 20% patients are the only ones who experience residual symptoms. 80% patients are relieved. So my friends, keep swimming, keep dancing, keep doing your exercises and Surya Namaskar and yoga. And thank you so much.